Welcome to Talking Down the Highway. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim.
Yo!
Yo.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, hello there.
Let's just do this for like half an hour.
Just keep saying hello.
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 How's it going?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi,
Greetings,
fellow peoples.
people, Beach Boys fans.
Beach Boysers.
It's been a little while since we've been
It has.
doing
It does.
this,
It
right?
feels like it's been...
We really recorded a bunch of episodes in pretty quick succession, and we ended up taking the last probably I don't know 3 or 4 weeks off of this, but we had a classic that we were able to roll out there in the meantime. That Beach Boys cruise. Still, everybody, free the surfer jets.
Free the
That's right.
surfer jets. Yeah.
So we got to get that hashtag trending, and we also have to get that Mike Love eats dog food
Right.
hashtag trending as well too.
I keep forgetting to put that on the post.
Did you start
It's like
that
literally
rumor?
the only
Where did that rumor start? I don't know.
It's
not-
It was written on the copy of the record that I have. I don't know how it happened, but on my copy of I think Shutdown Volume 2, it says property of Mike Love, who eats dog food.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I think Snopes covered it.
Yeah,
and it's
seems
true.
legit.
As far as I know, it's true.
Seems
yeah.
legit,
Mostly true, I think, is what it said.
So prove us wrong, Mike. Come on to the podcast.
I
and
will
prove us wrong. And until that happens, for all the world, we know
Mike Love eats
we
dog
can
food.
assume that Mike Love eats dog food.
I will say that over this little brief hiatus, I have been in the car a lot, and I've been listening to Mike Love narrate his autobiography.
Oh my God.
Gross.
Dear God, my eyes have never rolled.
Did you have a free Audible credit for that?
I did have a free
Good.
Audible credit.
Good.
And I don't know. I was just in the car. I needed to eat time up, and I was like, and I did it. And not only was it Mike Love's autobiography, it was him reading it in his own voice. It was
It'd be funny if he did a different voice.
it was so painful. It was
I gotta check it out.
yeah.
I don't have any credits though. I have to find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, something. So I will be sprinkling in some tidbits. He did not, I will say, address the dog food incident in his autobiography, Matthew. So apparently that has not been,
I mean, he would probably try to bury that,
Yeah,
We
he
all know
might.
the truth.
He might, yeah, right. Yeah.
Well. Good stuff. Sorry, I was
food,
just
yeah.
trying to do a little bit of
Dog food is
research.
good.
Yeah, well, according to Mike Love. Sorry, I was trying to do a little bit of research, and I just found out that we've been referenced elsewhere in the internet.
Uh-oh.
Not our podcast, but our. Wow. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I was trying to find our website, strangecurrenciesmusic.com, and
It's hard to find.
well, it's not, but rather than just typing it in, I just did like a Google
Yeah.
search, and so we're on this acclaimed music forum thing,
Hey.
where we've been linked to. So anyway,
That's
I was like,
acclaimed.
I kind of want to see what's going on there, but I got a podcast to
we're-
record right now. But apparently
Focus, Matthew.
there are comments on us out there.
Focus.
So,
Interesting.
Focus. We'll have to. We'll research that in the next break.
Yeah.
Wow. Focus.
Yeah.
We're here for the Beach Boys. We're here to dig down deep and uncover the truths of Mike Love's favorite brand of dog food. We are discussing.
I've heard Alpo.
Alpo. Okay.
I can only imagine. Does he eat wet or dry dog
I was just
food?
trying to think. Probably wet,
Kibbles and bits.
I think he likes to pretend that it's classy. Did I say make pretend? He likes to pretend that it's classy. You take the can and you turn it upside down, lift it up, and then it's like a little pate. I'm sure that's what he does.
It's like when you're at Dairy Queen and you get a Blizzard. You gotta. It's gotta
Thinking
hold
more
it
like,
upside down.
like a flan or something. Just
Yeah. Does he take a little knife to it? Yeah.
Fork and knife.
It's like
Use the appetizer knife or the
Danny
fork.
Tartable eating a donut.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or a Snickers
A little
bar.
dribble of gravy.
What if we resorted to?
Yeah.
This is a Beach Boys podcast.
Is it? Is it really?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this week we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about in just a minute. But
It's
I think
1964. Yeah.
it's still 1964.
Yeah.
They're only on their second studio LP of 1964.
Good times. Good
yeah.
times to be had this week.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that, and let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about what we're gonna talk about. And we're back.
Good.
Talking about all summer long. Yeah.
We decided to come back.
We did. We were reading about ourselves.
Somebody painstakingly retyped all of Matt's top 1,000 Century of Songs. That was very thoughtful.
And you can apparently donate money to him
for them
that.
for tidying it up.
Yeah, so.
Good job.
So do that, or instead just go read our list.
That's cool. Yeah,
Send
somebody came
us
across the Century of Song, put it in the forums. But you should go check it out. Yeah, there's some good stuff on there.
Hey, there's a song from this album all summer long.
Really?
On a Century of Song. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But,
yeah.
If you haven't read A Century of Song yet, here's a plug. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fucking do it.
Do it.
Go
Plug
read
it.
A Century of Song. It's
How high is it?
really good.
I'm curious.
It sounds really long, like a lot of reading.
It's a lot of it was a lot of
1,000
writing.
songs?
And yeah, it took me
I'm not going to read it.
took me well over a year to write it.
You don't have to read it. You could just scroll and look at it.
I mean, I got this web forum now that has all the songs
No,
right now,
no.
so I'll just scroll through that.
Go to my webpage because there's 60 parts of it, so that'll be 60
Acclaimed
hits.
music.
No,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you to Vacant Joy.
there you go.
Acclaimed Music for typing all that up.
Certainly, Vacant Joy
There
is
you go,
listening
champ.
to this because, they're a fan, apparently.
What are you listening to over there?
I'm just looking at the list. It looks like
I know,
must
but
be...
There's a
I hear
song
music. Yeah.
Can you hear music?
Yes.
Oh, it must be an ad on this site. Well, bad.
This is officially our worst podcast.
Officially. All right. So we're talking about all summer long.
Yeah.
The summer. Which summer?
64.
1964. We're talking
Although,
about
yeah,
all
64.
summer long of 1964. Lots of things happening in the summer of 1964.
Well, lots of things happening in the late winter, early spring.
Well, I was going to say, none
Yeah.
of the things that were happening in the summer of 1964 was the recording of this album.
Right. Well, it was the tour, but
Well, this was recorded between October 18th, 1963 and May 19th, 1964. So it's like,
Mostly April and
now
May.
it's summer. Now we won't be recording this album.
Right.
We'll put it out in the summer. Came out on July 1st.
yeah. Well, the thing, no, it didn't. I think it came out on July 13th.
July 3rd.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
But here's-
According to Rate Your Music, it says 1st of July, 1964.
Well, that was the single, the I Get Around single, because it hit number one on July
literally
4th.
the album, but
It
okay.
came out before the album. Anyway, well, the thing about it is, in February, what was it, February 1st?
Yeah, that's when they get back from this Australian tour.
Well, that's when the Beatles happen, essentially, right? It was
February 12th, I want to
12th?
say, somewhere in there. Yeah,
See-
they played Sullivan.
That's what I'm
Right.
talking about.
They
This
arrived
is
in the United States in,
Beatlemania. We're in the
February.
center of Beatlemania. The Beach Boys are on tour in Australia. They come back. They finally fire Murray, right?
Well, so what happens though is they finish recording Shutdown Volume 2, and then they hear the Beatles, and then they panic and release that on March 2nd.
They're like, crap.
and they're like, this sucks. We need something better. And that's when Brian starts to really go into it. I don't know what happened in October of 63, but they recorded most of this in April to May.
One of those songs they did in 63. One of the songs off of this album was recorded in 63. Everything else was done when they got back from this Australia tour. They finally fire Murray. They're like, we're done. Get away from us. And then they're like, oh crap, the Beatles, what are we going to do? How are we going to top this? And so Brian gets to work. Finally free of Murray, of his annoying studio peckerines. I don't know. What
No
do you
more
call those?
2x4s.
No more 2x4s. We can finally create music in peace or something.
Yeah, no more problems from here on out for the Beach Boys. It's
Everything's
going to be
smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great now that we've gotten rid of.
Yep. It's all happy now. And so now the villain part of the
Well, and also
the story is over.
Right. No more villains.
Yeah. No. Hey,
yeah.
you know what? It sounds
Hey.
like it's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains.
Hey.
All right, Heroes and Villains is where we discuss the heroes and the villains of whatever it is we happen to be talking about this week. Heroes? I got one.
Okay.
The Beatles.
Yeah.
They made the Beach
Right.
Boys better.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And everybody else as well, too.
Well, because at this time, I Want to Hold Your Hand is number 1 in the charts, right? She Loves You, Please Please Me are numbers 2 and 3.
That's right. They had the top 3.
They had the top
Right.
5 at one point. Yeah.
I think when Fun 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 finally reaches its peak, that's the single from Shutdown. It peaks at number 5. And so not only does it have three Beatles songs ahead of it, also the Four Seasons have a song at number 4.
Right.
So like everybody who's who they're kind of looking up at, Fun 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 is as best as they can get, and they sit back and they look around, they're like, crap, that's our single. What are we gonna do? And here's my villain. My villain is the person at Capitol who thought that Fun 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 was the best song of Shutdown and rushed that to be released.
Yeah, I can understand it, though. 'Cause it's
I
more
get
upbeat.
it. I get it. It's
It
upbeat.
sounds more like a Beach Boys single.
It does, but
than-
it's hokey in comparison. When you,
It's still a good song.
it is a great song. No, it's a great song, but
It stinks.
The fact that it was rushed out, it pushed Shutdown Volume 2 out, and now we're comparing I Want to Hold Your Hand with Shutdown Volume 2. Shutdown Volume 2 seems kind of corny in comparison with Beatlemania, with what's happening. And things could have gone differently if maybe somebody at Capitol had maybe reallocated their focus a little bit. Because at this point, the Beach Boys were Capitol's golden goose, right?
I mean,
they were
Up to that point.
They were
the
making
the Beatles were about to be.
Well,
Yeah,
that's my
but-
point. Is the Beach Boys were the golden goose, but then all of a sudden the Beatles come along, and so now Capitol's all enamored with them, and
Right.
somehow it feels like the Beach Boys got kind of pushed to the side a little bit.
Definitely.
So whoever it was at Capitol that made that call, I think, is the villain.
Obviously Murray,
yeah.
because there's a bunch of stuff in this article about like different accounts of what happened in the studio that day. Brian actually like shoving him,
Right.
and like holding him up against the wall and saying he was fired, and then others are just like, oh, and I guess Dennis punched a wall. Regardless, Murray was a big
Murray's a
dickhead.
turd. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
a turd there. But of course, the real villain,
as always.
Mike Love.
Well, is there something specific this time?
Yeah. He
Okay.
he says something about a bunch of chili dogs or a few chili dogs in the drive-in song. He's eating a few chili dogs at a time and trying to get busy with his date.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That is just
It's all
wrong.
So there
drunk
you go.
on root beer and
Yeah.
eating
Root
chili
beer
dogs.
and chili dogs. Yeah, Mike
just
Love.
one.
Valid.
There you go.
Yeah.
Although, doesn't he say he's drinking Coke?
Yeah, I think so. So that is
I mean,
inconsistent.
I feel like I've been lied to.
That's another villainous thing to do.
I mean, he was obsessed with root beer, and now he's drinking Coke. And I don't think it
Which
was.
one is it, Mike?
Yeah, come on. Hey, you know what? Who might know the answer to this?
Al Jardine.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's time for You Can Call Me Al.
Call us, Al.
Call us, Al.
Was it really chili on that chili dog, or was it Alpo?
Ooh,
Ooh.
they do look similar.
They do. Somebody
Good
could make
point.
that mistake.
Good point. All right, so we need to know the answer to that, Al.
Yep.
And also, was Mike Love not the root beer fiend that he claimed to be in Chug-a-Lug? Because if not,
It's another scandal.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially because he sued to get the royalties for that song
A&W,
because
that
he wrote it. He's like,
A&W
hey,
ad.
I'm the one who loves root beer. Maybe he wasn't.
He
Al,
sued for all these
let us
songs
know,
too.
Al.
So yeah. All right.
Solid.
All right. Well,
That's
hey,
another episode within an episode.
It is.
We've done that.
It
We're
is,
breaking all the rules now.
Yep, we're through the looking glass.
All right.
Here, yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
solid episode of
pretty good.
Heroes and Villains.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so it's 1964. So this
here's
is
some
contextually,
clarification.
this is the first thing that we could say was Brian Wilson responding to the Beatles,
Right, and here's
which is a big theme now
Yeah.
from this point forward. Really, at least through
Yeah.
the golden era of the Beach Boys, it is very much how is Brian responding to these lovable lads from Liverpool.
And clarification on the timeline. So you're right. They get back from Australia and New Zealand on February 2nd. February 7th, the Beatles physically arrive in the United States. And so, again, this is before Shutdown Volume 2 even comes out.
Right.
There's a quote from Brian. What does he say? Oh, it's down here. Something about them looking like everyone. Okay, I knew we were good, but it wasn't until the Beatles arrived that I knew we had to get going. When I saw how everyone was screaming for the Beatles, it was like, whoa, we couldn't believe it. I was shook up as hell. What is the part about? Okay. In his memoir, he said that he had suddenly felt unhip, as if we looked more like golf caddies than rock and roll stars.
Right. Golf caddies.
And but apparently, and so they were all kind of shaken up by the Beatles, but they didn't. They decided not to try to emulate them stylistically, like physically. They just wanted, Brian just decided let's show them how good we are through the music, which
Right.
is a good decision because I can only imagine them like wearing suits and boots and stuff like that and trying to look
We've
like them. That would
already
have been really
established
pathetic.
they are not cool.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So.
So this is where
Plus, I mean, the Beatles didn't have a bald guy in the band either.
bringing them down. So this is now. Brian has put it in his mind that he's going to start to compete, and it's now time to go into the studio, and we are going to show them what we have, and that's kind of the mindset that's going on in the context of this, right?
Yeah, and again, for the next several albums. Now, at this point, it's definitively a one-sided competition, but it doesn't stay that way. But
Wait. What do you mean one-sided competition?
it's not like the Beatles are out there
Right.
trying to, fight back and compete against the Beach Boys. Like the Beach
Yes.
Boys are a mere blip, but eventually there will be like a give and take there. This isn't really necessarily even the first time, I guess, that Brian decides he's competing with somebody too. And we haven't really talked about that much yet already, but he's already sort of established this competition with Phil Spector.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay, that was the other thing I was going to say, because at the same time, this is like "Be My Baby" comes out right around this same time. The
63.
63. But so that's happening, and he had just responded to that with
Exactly.
"Don't Worry,
Don't Worry,
Baby."
Baby,
yeah.
So that's all happening. "Be My Baby," the Ronettes has not, the album even hasn't dropped yet. It doesn't come in until the end of the summer, and so this is. All of that is happening right now. And so Brian's starting to look at what Spector's doing in the studio. We've started now getting some Wrecking Crew, right?
Yeah.
Some, but they're ancillary sort of at this point. Still.
Kind of, yeah. They're here and there, and but it's more than just like from a distance too. Like Brian is literally sitting in on Spector sessions. I think he was actually like sitting there as a session musician on one of them as well too. If I remember, I'll have to fact check and look that up. And there was like actual personal interaction between them where Brian was like totally just I don't know, just treated like shit by Phil Spector, which, I mean, if all Phil Spector's going to do is embarrass you, that you're probably coming out ahead. Because we know how other interactions with Phil Spector tend to go. But,
Too soon? I don't know.
No, not at all. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
we could reopen up. Hey, you know what? It sounds like it's time for another episode of Heroes and Villains.
Do we have like a remix of the Heroes and Villain, like an alternative theme song?
All right, hey, it's Heroes and Villains. This is where we discuss the heroes and the villains, whatever it is we happen to be talking about. And villain?
Spector.
Phil
Yeah.
Spector.
Phil Spector.
What a dick.
Yeah.
Like, even before he was
murderer.
a straight up murderer, What a fucking dick.
So we're saying he is, if Brian doesn't already have a complex, because Murray's like,
Wait, are we still in this episode? Let's leave the episode.
yeah.
Okay.
Hero Brian.
All right,
Hero
Brian's here.
Brian, villain Spectre. Okay,
So-
great episode.
So Brian's got Murray yelling in his ear, banging boards in his ear, and then he's got Phil Spector making fun of him. Of course, Brian's got a chip, right?
Yeah.
Of course, he's got a
And now he's picking this imaginary fight with the Beatles.
right.
Well,
Oh,
I'm going to
guy.
keep... There's a lot of good Brian quotes in this Wikipedia article, so I'm just going to do one more. A couple more, probably.
That's why
throughout
they come to
whole
this
thing.
podcast, because
For the quotes, for the Wikipedia knowledge.
to the Wikipedia.
Because, I'm just a
Yeah.
Wikipedia historian.
Well, Tim is a Wikipedia premium
Premium,
subscriber,
that's right.
so he gets all the facts that you can't get elsewhere unless you pay for them.
Yeah. If you want to be a Talking Down the Highway premium subscriber and not hear every other word bleeped, then you got to pay up too.
There you go.
But so this is like chip on his shoulder, that kind of thing. It says, when I hear really fabulous material by other groups, I feel as small as the dot over the I in knit. Then I just have to create new songs and to bring me up on top. That's probably my most compelling motive for writing new songs, the urge to overcome an inferiority feeling.
Oh my goodness, Brian.
The dot over the I in knit.
Oh, Brian.
N-I-T, not K-N-I-T.
Oh,
Like
okay.
a lice,
you're a
baby
knit.
lice.
Oh, okay. I heard it as mitt. I was like a baseball mitt, or
It's a
Mitt
weird.
Romney.
It's a weird word to use, and knit.
Okay. All right.
Somebody called him a knit. Like,
Probably.
Brian.
But one more thing with Brian, another quote is that as far as him wanting to move forward and kind of get away from the surf rock, or not surf rock, but just the topics of surfing and cars. He says that they had milked it to death. What does he say? Hold on, it's a good one. It's under here. He says, we needed to grow. Up to this point, we had milked every idea dry. We milked it fucking dry. We had done every possible angle about surfing. Then we did the car routine, but we needed to grow artistically. Mm-hmm. I guess that's a quote. I don't know why he would say the word fucking. Well, it doesn't seem very Brian Wilson. He'd get fined by Murray.
Yeah, well, but Murray's out of the picture.
That's
now.
true.
Yeah,
so he's probably saying fuck
he
this,
can
fuck
cuss
that.
away,
Yeah, every day.
We're establishing some important context here then for this record. Context is really important, whereas it didn't seem as important in the last few. It was just like, well, they're cranking these things out as quick as they can, and now there's a different level of intentionality behind it. But there's still that intense pressure from Capitol Records, from the self-imposed pressure of like how high is it going to get on the charts and all that kind of stuff. But there's a different kind of a vibe and a different intention that is now starting to creep in to the band. Whereas before, I think they were probably all on the same page of let's make hits, let's make songs that sell the Southern California youth lifestyle thing. And now Brian's like, all right, I'm ready to kind of move in a different direction.
I can do more. Yeah.
I think the rest of the band is gonna take to this. I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna have a really positive attitude about it. Yeah,
that's for those of you who don't know Matthew. That is sarcasm. Yeah. So here's the other thing. I don't know about the timeline. Maybe you guys can help me clarify. Isn't this the time when Brian starts like working with some other artists and doing stuff with like Jan and Dean and selling off some of his songs?
He's been doing that for a little bit now, and he's been doing, I think, a little bit of production at this point now too. We already talked about like the Honeys on a previous episode, and he's worked on some productions with them. There's a whole compilation out there. What is it called? I've got to look it up. It's something like Brian's Pet Sounds or something like this, or Pet Projects or something. And like he's doing some production work for other people at this point. And I think he's trying on a few of the things that he wants to do in the Beach Boys with other artists.
And I think that's the other kind of important note about this background is that Brian is starting to kind of turn his attention to the studio. He's experimenting. He's starting to think about, hey, how can I use the studio? I mean, I just went back and listened to that Four Seasons track that was number 4 or that eventually poked it off. And you can hear a lot of kind of similarities studio wise. And there's some Phil Spector like intricacies that are kind of creeping in. I think all of that is milking around at the same time.
It's funny because I guess we can save this until we talk about the song specifically, but I listened to what was number 1 at the time I Get Around kind of reached that level, and the other number one was shit. So
Right.
anyway,
Fair.
Yeah, so the thing I was just referring to, it's called Pet Projects, the Brian Wilson
Okay, yeah.
Productions. And so
cool.
he's like recording stuff with Gary Usher, the Survivors. I think that's, I want to say that, yeah, that's like actually he's part of that. He's playing instruments on that single. And let's see here. We already talked about the Jan and Dean stuff that's going on. Sharon Marie and the Honeys as well too. So he's doing some production for some other people at this point. And again, putting some of those ideas that I think he's going to want to start employing in the Beach Boys, a little more sophisticated productions. But I think he's kind of able to experiment there where he didn't feel like he was able to do that yet really with the Beach Boys.
Well, and that's my other thing is I feel like someone at Capitol or some villain is whispering in his ear that the Beach Boys are silly, the Beach Boys are nits, the Beach Boys are has-beens and they're not as cool. Capitol now is like diverting their attention from the Beach Boys, who got all the attention before, now to the Beatles.
I mean, that could all just be internal
maybe,
dialogue from
maybe.
Brian
Right.
toward himself, because of his childhood and how Murray treated him.
Right.
He's probably hearing all that criticism in his head, even if it didn't actually exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
All right. So some important context there.
Important
Let's go ahead and
context.
take a quick break, and then we're going to jump into side A of this album, All Summer Long.
All right, it's time to dig in all summer long. We have now opened up our case. We've pulled the album off the shelf. We're taking a look at All Summer Long.
then what?
Then what? Well, no.
This is going to be a really long podcast.
This is going to be long. Every step of the way. No, okay, so here's my thought. We're sitting down now. It's been singles territory. We talked about context. I think when you hold this album for the first time feels like an album.
Yeah.
And maybe we're getting a little bit of that with Surfer Girl, but like I feel like this, and I don't know what y'all think about this, but there's a sense that this is an album. I don't want to call it a concept album, but I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know. Is that worth?
There was some historian or other called it maybe one of the first concept albums, but I feel like they've said that about the last two ones also.
Yeah. I mean, we're using concept pretty
Loosely.
generously.
Yeah.
Because all of their stuff kind of had a concept at one point, like
Yeah.
surfing or whatever. But it is.
But you get a sense that this is okay.
It's a complete work, if anything.
Yeah, or if Brian's putting away the surfing, cars, hot rods, you get a sense that he's trying to tap into youth culture, the teenage experience. You know, you get a sense that all of the songs here kind of are starting to lean into that. This is a snapshot of youth culture of this summer. It feels very an attempt at that.
You know what are snapshots of youth culture at the time? All the photographs on the cover.
Hey, sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound and Vision. All right, it's Sound and Vision, where we discuss all things aesthetic using the David Bowie scale. Glenn, if we really like something, we call it
Low.
David Bowie's masterpiece. Tim, if we don't like it, we call it
Never Let Me Down.
Where David Bowie really, really let us down. David, come on. Get help.
That was my Mike
can't
Love
hear you.
low bass.
And then if it's in the if it's in the middle, yeah, if we're okay with it.
Yeah, let's dance.
Let's dance. David Bowie's okayest album. All right. So how about this album cover, huh?
Yeah.
Snapshots, as you said.
Again.
They
I-
specifically are taking pictures of them having fun on the beach, but there's no surfboards or anything. There's no hot rods.
Not a surfboard to be
yeah.
found.
It's summer. It's all summer long. It's a collage.
Antics.
Pretty iconic.
Apparently, like I wasn't aware that this was oft imitated or whatever, and like a really influential cover. Because I mean, I think it's fine. I think what kind of makes it is those 3 little squares of color, not squares but rectangles. Kind of in the gaps. It kind of gives it more of a design look.
Modular.
I like it.
So I do like
and
it.
those
But
rectangular ones could be surfboards.
Ooh,
No.
boogie boards.
No.
But yeah, it's good.
Interesting point. None of these are actually their girlfriends or spouses. Some of them are married at this point, right?
I mean, Mike would be married at this point, maybe possibly divorced. I don't know.
He's been married and divorced 27
he knocks
times.
that girl
or
up.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
He's like
apparently,
54 now. So.
In 1964, yes.
Apparently, all of these are models. That this is just a photo shoot, and they've done that. But it doesn't feel like that. You almost get a sense that we're getting to know the guys. They're humans now.
Right.
And they've got girlfriends, and they're people. They're we're learning their personalities.
They're regular humans.
They're regular.
We are just like you humans.
But I mean, this is all of the surf movies are coming out. This is what the Beatles are doing Hard Day's Night. There's all of these movies that at this juncture the Beach Boys are making cameos and in some surf movies too, and that's what this feels like. This feels like they're part of culture. They're like, let's explore what this is like.
Yeah.
Are there any specific parts of these pictures in here that we want to comment on?
The bottom right with Mike Love and the stupid looking hat.
Stupid hat. Yeah.
I love it though because it's so dumb looking.
Poor Carl's the only one that didn't get a model.
Yeah.
Not only did he not get a model, but Denny's like burying him in the sand
Up to his neck.
Up to his neck. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
He's the little brothers. He, by the way, he just graduated high school right as this album was coming out. He was finally 18, and like that's why they could go on tour. Oh. Wait, that's not an aesthetic thing. We'll wait till this episode's over.
Carl's really coming off as kind of a doof. Yeah, he doesn't get a model. He's being buried in that stupid hat up to his neck. And then in the left, he's like the least intimidating looking quarterback ever. Carl's, yeah. I like Brian, like in front of all of the food. But he's got like 6 bottles of, I think it's either Coke, maybe, or Dr. Pepper. It does not appear to be root beer. So again, I feel
more
like we've
controversy.
been lied to.
Yep, more controversy. Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna call it a low.
Yeah,
it's
agree.
iconic.
I think
it's an album. It's cohesive. I like the design. I'm giving it a low.
I like the sort of continuation in some ways of the striped shirts, but it's more like they're individuals now.
Yeah,
they're not all wearing the same, striped shirt, but Brian still has, the stripes.
And even the nature of them in different boxes, it's not on the nose, but they're individuals. They're also interacting with each other. Yeah,
I'm gonna give it a Let's Dance just from a design and iconography standpoint. Give it one glance, and there's not like an image that hits you.
Yeah, dominance.
It's just really busy.
Right.
But I think what it represents, everything we've talked about, is that elevates it, but I don't think it elevates it aesthetically. So I'll stick with Let's Dance.
Sure, fair.
How do you go
it.
to hell?
I'll bury you in sand.
Simmer down.
Dennis is riding on a horse. Come on,
simmer down.
A horse on the
It's
sand.
so small. I had to look at the hard copy that you have because I couldn't even tell what was going on in it.
Yeah. Well,
Pictures
all right.
are so small.
buy the record then.
No.
Solid episode of Sound and Vision. Couple of lows. Let's Dance. So is this a concept album, Matt? Do you consider it?
I do not consider it a concept album.
Do you consider it an
album?
Have you departed from the singles era?
Kinda, sorta. I'd say they're gonna do that a little more dramatically.
Yeah.
Not, I guess maybe with the next real record. Yeah, I mean they're kind of out of that, I guess. Like I don't know that all of these songs, even the more like iconic ones, were released as singles. I'd have to look up.
The only single was "I Get Around."
It was okay, yeah, but it's not the only hit, right? I mean, Wendy, All Summer Long. I know some of those Little Honda, like they end up on compilations, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're good album tracks. So I'd say yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, track 1, we put on the record, I Get Around, that is the single. That's the single from this. That is, there's a lot of like folklore about, this song being written coming out of that Australia tour and having, kind of started to see the world. And I mean, this one, the first number one.
Yeah, their first number one single. I guess we're on side A now. We're talking about songs.
Yeah, I Get Around.
The one that it knocked off of the top spot was by Peter and Gordon. It's called A World Without Love.
Oh.
And it's just really lame.
Yeah.
At this point,
terrible.
all of the top... Let me look up. This is a factoid that's actually important. All the number ones in that era, like right around that time, were British bands because of the British invasion. This is the first... What do they call it? The first domestic... Number one since the previous year, since sometime in 1963.
Because Leslie Gore had a number one. And the Beatles were roaming around the top. So I Get Around comes up, and it's for 2 weeks. It peaks at number one for 2 weeks, and actually gets knocked off by Four Seasons, which is maybe ironic, or I don't know, because Four Seasons are kind of like. At this point, they're kind of like the East Coast version of the Beatles or of the Beach Boys, and they're the two U.S. acts. And they're kind of more. Four Seasons are more of a kind of a vocal group, which I guess the Beach Boys are too, but
a little more doo-wop.
A little more doo-woppy. Although, Ragdoll is the song that ended up being the number one, has some of that orchestral Phil Spector kind of wall of sound vibe to it that is starting to happen.
So it was the first number one hit by a Homeland group since November of '63. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but this song hit number one on the 4th of July, which is a very patriotic day for it to happen, to reclaim the crown
America!
for America. Yeah.
Smooth sailing from here on out. Yeah.
We got the Beach Boys.
So the Gulf of Tonkin resolution would have been like 3 months, not even like weeks later. So yeah, escalation in Vietnam. Yeah, all right.
Well, there's a whole blurb
Yeah.
about this, not this song, but All Summer Long being the end credit song for American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Which is like it didn't exist in 1962 when that movie was
Correct,
based,
yeah.
but it represents like this is kind of the end of this era because of Vietnam ramping up and America getting more involved, and just
Wait,
We're
whole
not
culture
done
changing.
yet talking about I Get Around though.
Yeah,
So
right.
all right.
Yeah.
Thoughts on it?
It's great.
Incredible.
Fucking great song.
Yeah.
So good.
This is definitely, if I were going to make a top 5, it would be my top 5.
It's the best of the upbeat, like rocky.
Yeah.
Like it blows the doors off of Fun
Yeah.
and Surfing US, like any of that stuff. This is the ideal upbeat Beach Boys song, I think.
It is. I think there might be another one, but we'll talk about that when it comes. Yes. And there's like some of that orchestration that starts to come in here. There's some of this in I Get Around that you start to see this as a more complex composition than some of those fun, and some of those
production-wise too. Like this is still the guys playing their own stuff.
It
but
is,
but there's like the hand claps,
right? And you're getting Wrecking Crew coming in and doing some parts on top,
stuff.
And Brian's starting to feel his way around the studio.
It's another good interplay between Mike and Brian's voices, like surfing. What the hell is that song?
Right,
Catch a Wave.
Right.
I know it's about surfing.
Surf something. Brian's falsetto is great, and the use of it in a more rocking song really, really works well. The whole hook.
Well, the structure of the song is great because it gives, like, for a live performance, when everything stops and it resets from the beginning with round, round, get around with no instruments.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect time for the audience to go crazy. Yeah.
Just great harmonies. It just jumps out of the speakers. It's a great song. It's the one that's on Century Song.
I wish
I'd alluded to earlier.
Sure.
What number does it hit?
I don't know. I'd ask whatever that guy's name was who wrote them all on.
One of the live performances I saw of this, I could have sworn that Mike Love said, instead of "I'm getting bugged driving up and down the same old strip," I swear he said, "I'm eating bugs riding up and down the same old strip."
Yeah.
Which would make sense if it was a motorcycle. But I watched that clip again, and he definitely does not say that.
Well, does he eat bugs with dog food? I mean,
Maybe.
it's possible.
Is this a lawsuit song, or did Mike Love get credit first time around?
It's a lawsuit song. Every song with lyrics on this album is a lawsuit song. Yeah.
So I feel like this is another, having just listened to the audiobook of Mike defending how he came up with all these songs. Oh my gosh. Like, even you can see right through Mike Love in his autobiography, and him describing how he deserved to be. Like, basically his contribution to this was, like you said, he said we should lead with that hook. Round, round, giddle.
Yeah.
And his Mike Love's claim is that that's what he's good at, is he's good at coming up with hooks and the upbeat, whatever.
Right.
But like, Brian had already written everything. That's just like an arrangement piece ish, or just like, why don't we start off with this? But that's like,
he does claim to have rewritten some of Brian's lyrics to make them more like cool or whatever.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's another thing. It's almost like that's the villainous part of it, is that if anything, Mike has like ruined them or made them. They could have been better if he didn't put his paws on them.
Brian is not a lyricist, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to like say anything positive about Mike Love, but I do kind of believe him in some of these cases. If there's not a third party lyricist, then I kind of believe him. But he still sucks.
Maybe. He absolutely sucks. Just to answer your question there, Glenn, number 357 on Essential.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it's fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard it, Flight of the
Navigator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Classic.
Me too.
That is good.
All right. Well, hey, track 2, we kind of already alluded to that it plays at the end of American Graffiti, which, again, anachronistic. It doesn't come out until 1964, and that takes place in 62.
Yeah, 62.
Yeah, but a great song.
Great song. It's it's still a beach song or whatever. It's still a California myth song, but without like the surfing and cars.
Yeah,
It's like
there's more substance.
Yeah,
to
we're gonna
it.
go do I don't even remember all the stuff they list.
Wait a second. When does American Graffiti come out?
It comes out in 70.
Yeah, it's based in 62.
Okay,
Set
all right.
in 62, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, it's just like this carefree lifestyle living in Southern California.
It is, but this is, I think, one of the great examples of one of the things that makes Brian Wilson so brilliant is, yes, on the surface, this is a super, super upbeat song, but there is a very palatable tinge of melancholy in All Summer Long. I have always just felt that really strongly about this song. There is something that's, I don't know. It may be the whole idea that it's the end of the summer, and that there is just this sort of underlying sadness. And I think some of it's just the harmonies, because he has the blue note, right, that he manages to put into these songs. There's depth here, I think, that is more than just, hey, fun in the sun, kind of thing.
It could be one of those things too, where like maybe the fame that they have means they can't do some of these things.
Maybe.
These like really basic summertime things anymore.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor, man.
But great song.
Yeah, great song. Love it.
All right, let's keep moving along. We're getting a little long here.
Right.
Hushabye.
It's a cover. It's a little forgettable for me, but it's fine.
No, I like it.
It's good. Yeah.
I feel like it's a cover, but it has kind of that, almost that melancholy that you're talking about. I'm just glad that it's
melancholy.
I'm glad it's not about hot rods, and so I'm appreciating where we've come from, and I like this one.
Some really nice vocals and really nice instrumental arrangement too. Brian's starting to push into a few different directions with the arrangements. So yeah, I like this song for that. I don't have a whole lot else to say about it, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Little Honda.
It's great. So it became a hit for another group put together by Gary Usher called the Hondells, I think. It's just like a dude group that he just like, hey, let's, Brian says we can use this song, and they released it, and it became a hit because the Beach Boys did not release it as a single. But it's great. I think it does blend in a little bit with like the Jans and Deans and stuff. Like I didn't know for sure that this was a Beach Boys song. Growing up, I just knew the song from like oldies radio. And then like, okay, it makes sense that it's a Beach Boys song, but it doesn't necessarily sound like definitely like a Beach Boys song, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know. Mike Love's kind of a I don't know, his ego is coming out in this track for me a little bit, but
Maybe I don't. It's
not a
it's a
big
minute and
motorcycle.
50 seconds, and
Yeah,
it's just
right.
this great little
Yeah, yeah.
compact.
No, I like it.
Propulsive. It's good.
It's not about a car.
Really,
It's
yeah,
about a
well, and it's fun too. Like this is one that you can see in one of those '60s surf movies.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the clip? Have you watched the clip from the movie? They're like all standing around in a party, and Dennis
Which one?
is
From All Summer Long?
Little Honda.
Oh.
Yeah,
No, I didn't know.
it's in a movie.
Oh, okay.
If you look up Little Honda Beach Boys, you can find it. It's like a clip from a film, and like Dennis is like just playing a snare, not really playing it, but for the film. And he's like, yucking it up with the actress, and yeah, it's good. It's fun. Little Honda's a motorcycle.
yeah, it is. It is. All right, we'll run away.
It's good, but it kind of slips past me, like I don't tend to remember it when I hear it. But while listening to it, I'm like, hey, this is like really well composed.
This is the one that Remy and I, when we did the catalog crawl, chose as the representative track. Because we kind of were trying to pick like the
Right.
lesser known,
Sure.
ones. I really like it. It's got that little wheezy organ part in it, just like where the just single note kind of thing, which is great. And
Brian's falsetto is
yeah,
great.
great falsetto. And again, it's one that just has that melancholy vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. All right, that's side A, right?
You don't want to talk about Carl's Big Chance?
Oh, well, you know what? To bring it up, my copy of the record is apparently a repress from like 1982 or 1980. And it doesn't have Carl's Big Chance. It's
Lucky.
like, fuck that. We're just going to pretend that never happened. And
Lucky.
So,
Yeah.
So
Show some
no Carl's
respect.
Big Chance on mine. And
Wait.
did we lose anything really?
Well,
no,
wait.
it's fine.
Isn't this a retread? Haven't we already had Carl's Big Chance?
no.
Didn't we already do Denny's Big Chance?
Denny's drums.
Denny's
Oh,
drums, yeah.
it's-
This is slightly better
Didn't we already
instrumental
do
performance by the person in question.
Carl's Surf Chance? It feels like
Yeah, this is not the first instrumental Carl song.
it just feels like we've done this before.
It's a little weird though because it doesn't showcase any real like fancy guitar
Right.
work. The guitar work is pretty good.
Yeah.
but it's like
It's just an instrumental, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude, really?
Boogie,
Could've done-
shuffle. Yeah, it's
I have a couple of tracks in back of my mind that I would have replaced with this on this album.
well, yeah.
We'll get to that later.
All right, well, that's side A. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about the flip side.
Hi, we're back. We're talking about All Summer Long by the Beach Boys, which I'm going to now do 45 minutes of introduction to this part, just so that it's a real nice, beefy episode.
Introduce the B-side.
Okay, side B, track 1, Wendy. Great song.
Great
Yes.
song. Yeah.
Excellent song. I'm not going to get into it, but go to the Wikipedia and read about the composition. It's just insane, the amount of like weird chord changes and modulations and things like that. It's a very complex song.
And that's what I'm talking about. This is where Brian now is starting to. Okay, so I feel like there's still a little bit of this. Is this just another song for my Surfer Girls playlist? Is this just another girl song that the Beach Boys have done? And there's a little element of that this does feel kind of like, another Surfer Girl.
Sorry, that was me falling asleep on my desk hearing Glenn
Back
talk
off!
about his playlist again.
Back off. Well, but part of me is like, okay, is this them sliding back into something we've already heard? But
Yeah.
this is
Right.
Brian now getting complex, getting thoughtful, instrumentation.
It's another big like step up in his
Right,
whole
right.
thing. Do you remember? Track 2 on this side.
I do not remember.
It's just about like Buddy Holly and shit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's is Buddy Holly even mentioned?
I don't know.
It's like Danny and the Juniors and Chuck Berry
Chuck
and Little
Berry's in
Richard.
there, yeah.
It's a dumb song.
Yeah.
It could have easily been on one of the earlier albums, and
Yeah.
not one of the better songs on one of the earlier albums. So it's the first thing on here, other than just the totally inconsequential Carl's Big Chance, where it's like, they really just phoned this in. But it's only a minute and a half long.
Yeah.
So.
Girls on the Beach. I like it.
Oh, it's
Lovely.
great. Yeah.
Lovely.
That little bridge where Dennis comes out as the soul vocal. He just has 2 lines. It's great. I love that part. This was the name of a movie, a surf movie that they cameoed in also. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's beautiful. I love the harmonies in here. Great. There's even like a modulation in there where it moves and kind of it gives it kind of harkens back a little bit to Warmth of the Sun. I keep saying how Wendy kind of reminds me of a little bit of this, and a Girl on the Beach reminds me a little bit of Warmth of the Sun.
Well, so it has a little surfer girl in there too.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say it is not only like really, really Surfer Girlish, but you always hear like he wrote Surfer Girl after hearing When You Wish Upon a Star, and this one sounds way more like When You Wish Upon a Star to me than Surfer Girl does. But it's a good song.
Well, and like Carl's Last Chance reminds me of some of the other stuff that they're done, and I'm setting myself up for when we rate the album overall. But like there are still some elements that are kind of like this feels like some retreads.
Oh yeah.
But it is that next level production that's starting to kind of creep in here.
Yeah, there's some real A material on this album, and then there's some stuff where it's a little more like you said, more of a retread.
Yeah,
and this is kind of a retread, but it's one of the better retreads.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Quick note on this: according to Wikipedia, the engineer was a guy named Bob, and it literally says surname unknown.
Nice.
So if anyone knows who Bob was, perhaps Al could call us and tell us that.
Sounds like it's. Hold on. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can call us.
Yeah,
Or you can call me.
Yeah.
Al.
Yeah, call us.
Who's Bob?
Who's Bob?
Yeah. Tell us.
Nobody remembers
The world needs to
Bob.
know.
Remember there was that guy Bob who helped us plug in those mics? Yeah.
Yeah, he sucked. Let's forget about him. All right, next track is Drive In.
Oy.
I love it because
Oh no.
here's why.
Hold on. I know exactly what you're going to say that you love about it too. It is, remember, only you.
Can prevent forest fires.
That's your favorite part, isn't it?
Well, no, but I was just going to say this is a throwback. I like it for the same reason I like Surfing USA. It's a lot like the both the County Fair song and the Root Beer song. Only you can prevent forest fires part is interesting because apparently it's a reference to to wearing a condom. Yeah, it's because the lyric is, this is according to some biographer. The lyric is, if you say you watched the movie, you're a big fat liar, and remember, only you can prevent forest fires. It's supposed to be like suggestive about contraception. Like you're not watching the movie, you're getting it on, and remember, take precautions. I don't know.
I just assumed that they had like those Smokey the Bear promos
So did
before
I.
the films at a drive-through.
That was my
right?
assumption, and then I read all this. Yeah, and then also this is where he says, "A few chili dogs, and I'm going broke."
Yeah,
Just get one.
a couple of Cokes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So bad.
Great song.
It's a super Mike Lovey kind of heavy moment, and it feels just really out of place on this album because again, the A material on this album is so good. It's like, oh, here's something they could have done in '63. And it would have fit on one of those records.
This felt like in the parking lot, like drive-in, all of those.
Another quick anecdote about this song, though, is that apparently Don from Was Not Was directed a documentary about Brian Wilson or something.
Yeah.
And at one point, it's not in the movie, he was trying to get Brian to talk about Smile in kind of a sly way. So he's like, Brian, what's the heaviest thing you ever worked on? And Brian gets all excited. He's like, oh, man, let me tell you all about Drive-In. He like goes on and on about Drive-In. And then, he didn't use that in the movie because I didn't want to talk about Drive-In.
Right.
So anyway, Brian he called it the best thing he ever did, but he says that about everything.
He called Drive-In the best thing he ever did?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right.
Unreliable narrator.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is another one that my copy of the record doesn't have.
Oh, lucky.
Our favorite recording sessions.
Oh, my God.
Let's just say it's much better than that god awful Sonny
Cassius
Wilson.
and Sonny,
because that's like 3.5 minutes long. This is like 1:40, and it's
2
more
minutes, but
Too
okay.
flat.
but it's more spontaneous. It's actually spontaneous, which is what one critic said.
Ish. Okay. It's still terrible.
It's
Yeah.
useless, is what it is.
It's useless, yeah,
but it's
right.
not. It doesn't make me go, ugh, what the fuck.
It's not as cringy.
And the
as
voice at the
other
beginning,
ones.
I think, is Murray, right? Even though he's kind of
That's
not in the
what I
picture
thought,
at this
yeah.
point. But he's
Yeah.
like, all right, guys, shut up now, or whatever. So anyway,
Yeah.
don't back down.
I like it.
That's great.
Yeah.
My note was that this is pretty good, but weirdly buried at the end. It feels
Because
like
again, it's after this
it's
stupid,
after that weird
inconsequential thing.
which
and-
should have been at the end, if anything.
Yeah.
But this one's great. And then the chorus when Brian jumps in with his vocal, the you gotta be a little nuts.
Yeah.
Then the way he says guts.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good. All right.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
sorry, just one quick little factoid about the album, and then we can move on. The Beatles, we were talking about the one-way, two-way kind of thing. According to Peggy Lipton, who was dating Paul McCartney at the time, she says John and Paul would listen to this album all the time. She says,
All summer long?
all summer long. And what did she say? Well, I didn't write down what exactly she said, but she said that they were fascinated with Brian's like composition ability.
Yeah, composition, orchestration.
Yeah,
and-
but I mean, obviously this made an impact on them the way they made an impact on him.
Oh, hey.
So there was definitely some give and take once this finally came out in July.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like when I Get Around pushes past the Beatles songs and top of the charts, middle of Beatlemania, that's saying something. That's saying,
exactly.
hey,
Yeah, you're
there's,
right.
there's something here. And yes, there is a little bit of the corniness. There's some hints. There's a drive-in. There's a cringy, sketch. Songs about girls. But there's something here. If you start to unpack this one, if you look at it as a whole, we're now starting to say, okay, we're thinking about this as an album, not just singles.
Well, and let's remember, this is the Beatles, not like I Am the Walrus and Strawberry Fields.
Exactly.
This
Right.
is I Want to Hold Your Hand,
Yes.
this boy. And
But still-
they're still very much in their, innocence
Teen
phase
culture,
too.
right.
And, so
But still, to get a number one single, not just like during Beatlemania, but the British invasion in general.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
was a
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
America, 4th of July.
All right. Well, hey,
1964.
we're starting to really...
We got to rate this.
We are testing our get it done in under an hour thing here.
Yeah,
so ratings, what do you guys put it?
I give it a Carl, which is on our scale of 4, but in a 1 through 10 would be an 8.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. It's totally a Carl.
Yeah, it's a Carl for me.
And it's a solid Carl.
It is a solid Carl, and
hot Carl.
It's a hot Carl. Now, I would say this is a Carl. I would say this album is not far from a Brian Wilson.
Well, there's a whole step in between. No,
There is a whole step.
I get exactly what you're going to say. We talked about this in the last episode, or alluded to it. Go ahead.
And I'm just saying, if we could have gotten rid of Drive-In, if we could have gotten rid of Carl's Last Chance,
Big chance. Carl's last chance.
That's what it
They're
feels
gonna
like.
kill it.
That came later.
then and we had put in Don't Worry Baby, and we had put in Fun, and
Yeah.
you know.
It's their... this is the first one that any of us have given a Carl to, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And all of us gave it a Carl. So this is them
Yeah.
operating definitely now on a new level. There are days in which I think I could maybe go that far with Surfer Girl, just because they're...
I was going to say,
that's a pretty good
Are
record,
you sure
but this,
I didn't
this
give
one's
Carl
better.
to Surfer Girl?
You may have.
yeah,
You may have.
my notes have me giving Surfer Girl a Carl, but I don't know if I stuck to that for the episode, so I have to listen again.
See, I might prefer Surfer Girl just because the highs are higher, but I Get Around's classic.
Yeah.
But
This is just a much more consistent record.
yeah, consistent.
Yeah.
It's a Carl.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're going to take one last break and we will come back to wrap it all up. All right, we're back and just wrapping it up. We're going to do a quick wrap up because this one ran a little bit long, but as always, go check out that content out there on Strange Currencies Music. Follow us on Instagram, Talkin' Beach Boys, and Strange Currencies Music.
Well, so in preparation for the next coming episode, go onto YouTube and just find all the live performance footage of the Beach Boys that you can.
Yeah.
Beach Boys in concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, go do some research. Join us. We're going to talk about the Beach Boys concert album next.
Yeah, and while you're there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button.
Smash it.
Smash those fuckers.
Because we got to
that
monetize
helps us.
this. I would have loved to play a little bit of I Get Around while we talked about it, but we didn't so that we can monetize on YouTube. So we can go on the next Beach Boys cruise.
That's right.
That's right.
We got to get there.
We will talk to you next week about Beach Boys concert.
Yeah.
See you then.
Bye.
Later.